In my last video, we left with the conclusion that indeed Republicans are terrible for the stock market. We have also came to the conclusion that time and time again, Democrats have consistently added far more value to the Dow Jones index than have the Republicans. And the natural question is why? And I believe there are many answers to this question, but I believe the core answer, and many of you have already guessed it, the core answer is dollar devaluation. Simply put, the Democrats do a lot more of dollar devaluation than do the Republicans. And the evidence, the hard evidence, provides a sharp contrast between the policies, the economic policies between the Democrats and the Republicans. You'll recall that the Democrats, on average, produce 83% gains in the Dow Jones when they have control of the White House, versus 45% gains in the Dow when Republicans are in control. That's a positive differential of 85% in favor of the Democrats. But here's the thing. This is where it gets interesting. On average, Democrats have produced throughout the entire term of their presidency, Democrats produce dollar devaluation of minus 22%. Republicans, on the other hand, produce dollar devaluation figures of just under minus 9%. That's a differential of 147%. So they are much more willing to inflate the currency and to produce artificial valuation in the Dow Jones. And when you're talking about 147% differential in terms of currency strength, that is an extremely extraordinary figure. I mean, that is an extreme scope that you have to really appreciate, because we're talking about the sanctity and the stability of the U.S. currency. We're not just talking about the growth rate of some speculative penny stock here. We're talking about the U.S. dollar. You're having such massive differentials measuring 147% between Democrats and Republicans. That cannot be understated. There is a clear and sharp divide in the economic policies between these two parties. And that is also the reason why you see such sharp differences. Again, on paper, it looks like the Democrats produce gains, twice as better gains than the Republicans when it comes to valuation in the Dow Jones index, in the stock market index. But that comes at a price. There is obviously a price that is to be paid. Democrats are willing to shoot themselves up with economic fiscal steroids in order to produce those gains. They simply have no filter when it comes to doing whatever they want to do with the currency, with the stability and the sanctity of the currency. Republicans, historically speaking, have had a far different approach. In fact, there's no Democratic president that has not produced dollar devaluation. Every single Democratic president has devalued the dollar. You cannot, as a historical fact, you cannot say the same thing about Republicans. There have been two Republican presidents, Harding and Coolidge, who have not touched the dollar strength, who have not manipulated the currency. They produced 0% change in the value of the dollar. And President Hoover actually increased the value of the dollar by 17%. Now, we're going to put a little bit of an asterisk on that statistic, of course, because this is the time of the Great Depression. And in the Great Depression, obviously, there was a massive crash in the equity market. So that means that there are fewer dollars available to chase more goods. So that's gonna be naturally deflationary, and hence that's why you get this this huge differential in terms of dollar strength difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to the economy. And this is the reason why I'm really starting to dislike this this common aphorism that is thrown out stating that voting doesn't matter, that if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it, that everything is rigged, everything is controlled. I don't think so. I understand that the Democrats and Republicans, a lot of times they look very, very similar. But when you look at fiscal economic policy, the math is absolutely clear. The history is absolutely clear. The data is absolutely clear. There is absolutely a sharp divide between the fiscal ideology of Democrats versus that of the Republicans. If you look at this data and you still think that it doesn't matter, that Democrats and Republicans are the same party and that they're controlled by the same puppet master, you're not looking at the facts. You're not looking at the data correctly. You got to look at the data correctly. I'm sorry. I know that this is the one area that is going to rile up a lot of people. And a lot of my friends that are listening to this, that are watching this video, they right now are having a shit fit. I'm sorry. Again, going back to my first video, please don't shoot the messenger. But the data, again, I'm only using two data sources here, U.S. history and the Dow Jones. And when you look at these two data points, it's so clear, it's so obvious. This is not just a singular anomaly. This is a very consistent trend. This is a very consistent ideological contrast. In my next video, I am going to throw at you a different context, and we're going to see another perspective of everything that I just said. And I'm going to throw in some conspiracy theories. I saved the best for last. This is where I'm going to bring, I know people got really pissed off and people got really angry, but I'm going to bring it all together. I want to blow your mind with some data points that point to conspiracy. Please stay tuned.